In the late 90s, a French naturalist named Patrice Fay was documenting crocodile attacks in Burundi. He was interviewing a fisherman about a crocodile that killed his brother. Nothing surprising for Fay. Crocodile attacks are common in East Africa, but he wrote it down as documenting them is part of the job. Except, the fisherman added a particularly odd detail. The crocodile didn't eat the body. That didn't make sense, so at first the naturalist assumed the man was exaggerating. Then he interviewed another witness, then another, and another, all telling the same story. Fay doesn't know it yet, but he just stumbled upon to what will become the most disturbing wildlife cases ever documented. After hearing these stories, the naturalist started investigating because what he was hearing didn't make biological sense. Crocodiles are cold-blooded, which means every movement costs them energy they can't afford to waste. When a crocodile attacks, it's a big investment in terms of energy. Leaving a kill uneaten is like paying for a meal and walking out of the restaurant without eating it. Something is wrong here, and yet the witnesses kept describing exactly that and were all unanimous about it. By the way, we are in 1998, in Burundi along the Ruzizi River. More precisely, in the delta where the river meets Lake Tanganyika. During his investigation, Fay found that the attacks weren't isolated at all. They stretched back to the late 80s, scattered across different villages along the Ruzizi River and the northern shore of Lake Tanganyika. Different places in time, but the same strange signature. Victims killed by a crocodile and then abandoned, left to rot in the sun. In the village, a fisherman showed Fay his huge stomach scars. He was nearly gutted by this crocodile, but is somehow still alive. His story was terrifyingly common. Fay was called to the shores of Lake Tanganyika after reports of another attack. The lifeless body was mostly intact. No witnesses or proof it was the crocodile, but the signature was there in front of his very eyes. Local fishermen had already connected the dots long before Fay arrived. They had a name for the animal: the demon of the Ruzizi. A crocodile so massive, it had become something closer to legend than wildlife, spotted occasionally over the decades but never captured or killed despite numerous attempts. The stories Fay collected described a massive crocodile far bigger than anything they've seen that wore the evidence of failed hunts across its body. Kalashnikov bullet scars lined up along the hide and a deep gouge in the left shoulder blade, probably left by a spear. But what truly troubled Fay was the body count. When he started tallying the attacks attributed to this specific animal, not crocodiles in general, but this one in particular, the number climbed past 20 and kept going. 60 confirmed deaths, and up to 300 if you counted the unexplained disappearances along the river stretching back to the 1980s. For perspective, 60 verified kills already exceed the known body count of 99.9% human serial killers. Villages along the Ruzizi River had been losing people for nearly 2 decades from the same crocodile, and despite trying, nobody could stop it so far. Some villagers claimed the crocodile was 40 feet long. Others said it was red or yellow or had tufts of grass growing from its skull like some kind of swamp demon. Fay needed to see for himself whether any of this was real. He had testimonies, but testimonies don't prove anything. So Fay went looking for proof, and what better proof than seeing the beast himself? The problem is, Ruzizi River stretches across miles of muddy water, reed beds, and sandbanks that shift with the seasons. A crocodile can stay submerged for a long time, surfacing only to breathe before disappearing again. Finding one specific animal in that maze, even supposedly the size of a truck, was like searching for a particular needle in a warehouse full of needles. Everyone talks about this crocodile, but rare are those who have seen it. Weeks passed, and despite Fay patrolling by boat and talking to anyone who claimed a recent sighting, he found nothing. Each time he arrived somewhere the crocodile had supposedly been spotted, the animal was already gone. After 2 years of investigation, He began to wonder whether the whole story wasn't just a legend that had grown out of control. Until that afternoon in the late 90s, he spotted something on a sandbank. At first glance, it looked like a fallen tree trunk or a pile of debris washed up by the current. But after taking a closer look, without the shadow of a doubt, it was a crocodile. His head was the size of an oil drum. Running along the back were 3 healed bullet wounds, exactly where the witnesses said they would be. The deep gouge in the left shoulder blade was there too. He finally found it. According to him, the animal measured between 18 and 21 feet and weighed over 2,000 pounds. These numbers are staggering when you consider that Nile crocodiles rarely exceed 16 feet for a weight of around 1,100 pounds. 2 years of doubt evaporated in about 3 seconds. Everything the fisherman had described was real, and if anything, they had become conservative. Faye moved closer to get a better look at the teeth, which would have helped him estimate the animal's age. He approached from the front, slowly, through the tall grass. Before Faye could react, the crocodile noticed them and dove into the water with a massive splash and was gone. He never got to see the teeth that day, but had seen enough to know the animal was real and the largest Nile crocodile ever documented.